Forgiveness is the way by which we reconcile with God and fellow human beings. It is a perspective that helps us to mend our broken relationships. It makes us to accept the other person as he or she is, especially when we have achieved forgiveness and the goodness of the other persons. To err is human, but to forgive is divine are words that come to our mind many often. And these words in a way invite us to reflect on our own waywardness and our weak moments where we are called to reach out to others in forgiveness and reconciliation. And what better examples can we have than the early Christians who were persons of forgiveness, though they had to face moments of trials and tribulations, yet they were willing to forgive their detractors. When we speak about forgiveness and reconciliation, it entails many perspectives. I like to highlight on 4 such perspectives that can help us to become persons of forgiveness and reconciliation. The first, humility. To forgive someone, to reconcile with the other person, we ought to be humble enough, accepting our own limitations and our weaknesses. As Thomas Aquinas very beautifully speaks about humility as the queen of all the virtues, it can help us when we are imbued by our own desire to forgive the other in humility. Second, acceptance. To forgive and to reconcile with the other person, one ought to accept one's own limitations, faults, or way by which division has taken place in the mind and heart of the person. It is acceptance that will help us to forgive the other person as he or she is. In our own terms, when we have fought with someone and when we want to reconcile with the other person, we normally say, blood is boiling within me. How can I forgive the other person? And I'm sure when we are rooted in humility and a certain level of acceptance has taken place within us, we will be able to forgive the other as he or she is. Third, act on the situation. Forgiveness and reconciliation will take place when we act in a proactive manner. Acting here means that I realize there is goodness within me, so also there is goodness in the other person. And when I accept the goodness within me and the other who has goodness in him or her, I will be able to mend my ways and thereby reconcile and forgive the other person. Again, what better examples can we have than the early Christians who acted in their conditions and situations of life. They accepted their detractors as creation of God and thereby forgave them. And lastly, embracing the reality. As we make efforts to forgive and reconcile with the other person, we may not reach to 100% of forgiveness or reconciliation. And yet, to embrace what has been achieved will give us a sense of joy, peace, and contentment within ourselves. As we are in the season of Lent, the Church periodically invites us into the readings of the day to introspect on our lives, areas that needs a change, conversion, and perhaps one of the areas that we need to change or convert ourselves is more of forgiveness. And what better way to look for forgiveness or persons to forgive than our own families. In our own family, perhaps we need to forgive our own significant other persons. Then we will be able to forgive people who come across in our life, whether our neighbors and in the society at large. As we take part in Eucharist celebration, what better example can we have than Polycarp, a 2nd century saint who had to die a martyr's death, especially when he was asked by the emperor to denounce Christianity. And Polycarp said, for the last 80 years of my life, I have followed this person, Christ Jesus, who has never left me alone. How can I leave him in dire situations? We ask through his grace that we may become persons of forgiveness and of reconciliation.